Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to a Wednesday edition of Das Slate, the highest rated edition of the Slate, week in and week out. I'm your host, Emerson Latzia. We got Jeff Ulrich here. No, that is not Nick Fryer in the third box. It's a man who's much nicer. He is more committed to his craft. He is more handsome, and he has decided to take time out of his extremely busy day in the Great White North to spend some time with us, because Nick Fryer is at a comedy show because his career is a joke. Anywho, it is really good to see you, Garion Thorne. Thanks for being here.
No worries. I'm afraid what's going to happen when I don't show up next Wednesday.
No, you're fine. You're absolutely fine. We are very happy that you were able to step in. Producer Eamon behind the scenes, AC on the ones and twos. Garion, I've never said a bad thing about you. I'll talk crap about Fryer all day, every day, because he deserves it. But even like the one time I met you when you came in for, what was that, the Wrangler thing like 3 years ago? I was like, this guy is even nicer in person. And you give great hugs. So you're safe. Aww. You're in the safe zone.
That's nice.
Lots to get to here. So we'll get into some golf. I mean, maybe Gary will dish out an NBA bat. Maybe we'll get into some, we will get into some Super Bowl odds here real quick. But news of the day, dudes. News of the day, Tom Brady. So it's February 1st, right? He retired on this day last year, and then this year he's retiring on this day again. Jeff Ulrich, we spoke about it a little bit this morning, but really beyond the records, beyond the Super Bowls, what else stands out to you with this dude's career?
I mean, first of all, I thought it was a deep fake this morning. I really did. I had to verify. I verified it 10 times before I really committed to it.
I mean, I thought it was a joke too. Like, you see his little selfie video. It was very quick. And it's like, he also didn't mention like NFL, didn't mention teams, just said I'm retiring.
Yeah. So, which, I mean, I kind of like it. Like, I like the way he did it, honestly. I have nothing against it. I just really thought that was a deep fake video. But we've confirmed it. It's been confirmed by both Schefter and Rappaport now. You know, those two guys are in their own little feud. We can talk about, but the thing that stands out to me about Brady, there's multiple things, but like the biggest thing is just like there's, in terms of longevity and upper tier performance, I don't really know how you can, like, there's just nothing else that really compare. Maybe Gordie Howe is like the only thing in hockey. Most people probably don't even know who Gordie Howe is, but is like one of the only things that really comes to mind. I mean, it's not just that like he was good, because he was very good, and there were probably other quarterbacks you could say during his era that, you know, from a talent perspective were better and at times were more elite on the field, but like how consistent he was over his career, like winning 3 Super Bowls over the age of 40. He set a different bar, man, in terms of that. Like it's pretty crazy. So love him or hate him, like he always brought it, and the big game records, it's undeniable. I don't like the win-loss records anything, but it's undeniable. You're just not going to see that kind of performance over the long term. Probably maybe ever again in this game. Who knows? But yeah, that's the first thing that pops off to me. I mean, I remember watching Brady back when he came in as a rookie and like thinking like how long ago that was now. It's just unbelievable. It's crazy. It's like it's like half my life. Like it's insane.
I know, dude. Because like for me and Gary, I don't know how it is for you, besides the record Super Bowl titles, it's longevity. I don't think we will ever see a quarterback like this again. I don't know. Maybe we do with the advancement of medicine and the medical field and all that jazz. But like, I'm thinking right now, Patrick Mahomes going to play 23 seasons. Like, I don't know. Is Trevor Lawrence going to play 23 seasons? It's pretty insane, mind-boggling when you really try to sit back and think about what Tom Brady has done.
Yeah. I mean, it really is incredible. And I think, to his credit, and to the credit of the sort of, the statistical resume, the resume of just winning that he had built up prior to this last season, like, I don't think there's ever going to be that tarnish that we worry about sometimes where, is the lasting image of Tom Brady going to be him throwing tablets and, having a pretty underwhelming season for the Buccaneers? No, it's not. Like, Tom Brady's still just going to go down as probably the greatest quarterback of all time. And I also think to both your points about the longevity thing, it's something I think about a lot when it comes to this specific era of athlete, because we are obviously in the midst of a very different kind of sports atmosphere. You've got Tom Brady playing well into his 40s. You've got LeBron James still averaging 28 points per game, about to break the NBA's all-time points record. Like, in theory, you start thinking about this stuff and going, okay, well, this is the start of a trend. Like, guys are going to start playing longer. They're going to be able to build up these accumulation stats. The NFL is a more offensive oriented league than it was maybe in like the mid 90s. There's rules that benefit wide receivers. There's rules that benefit the passing games. In general, coordinators are far more willing to like establish the pass before they establish the run. Like, you don't need to pass to use play action. Like, the game is changing to a point where you would think that maybe a Patrick Mahomes is going to last long enough to like break all of Brady's records and maybe he cements himself as the greatest of all time in 20 years, et cetera, et cetera. But I do think there's something interesting about when exactly Brady in particular, and to some extent LeBron too, although I think football and basketball, very different sports for this. But Brady kind of coming in the late 90s, early 2000s, when there still was that sensibility of like, you lay it on the line for your team, you play even if you're hurt, like, football is life. Like, this is all I have. And for Brady, I think he personified football is life more than maybe any other athlete I can remember. Insert joke about his marriage here, but I do think like, I kind of start thinking about like Sean McVay, where, a head coach who's only been doing this for like a decade has had so much success, is so highly regarded. And at the end of every season, we hear like, oh, Sean McVay might retire and just go do television. And I start thinking that, yes, maybe medicine has come so far. Maybe the way players take care of their bodies has gotten to a point where they can play into their 40s, especially if they do something like, be a quarterback where there's less physical demand. But I also think like nowadays, these guys might not want to like sacrifice and do the things that Brady's been doing and to play into his 40s. Like, Patrick Mahomes might just be 35 and be like, all right, I did everything I wanted to do.
Yeah.
And like, I think this generation has a bit of a different sensibility than someone like Tom Brady. So I honestly don't know if anyone's going to touch his records, even with the advances we've seen in sports science.
Yeah. Poor Greg Olson right now.
Yeah. Greg Olson's like, so good.
He's been kicking absolute ass in the booth for Fox. And it's funny when I was talking to my wife about it, like this morning, I'm like, damn, I wonder if Fox has plans to immediately get Brady like involved somehow in the Super Bowl broadcast. But I think they said today that they didn't, and they were blindsided by him coming out of retirement. Like you mentioned the records, like Tom Brady's atop almost every major record around the NFL. You got LeBron, who you mentioned, Garion, 89 points away from the all-time scoring record in the NBA. But Jeff, I know you said you really think this is for real. You think he's going to actually stay retired. My question for you is, what do you think it would take to pull him back in? Come on.
I don't think he's doing the training camp. No way. I think if something crazy were to happen, it's like some team like the 49ers are like 10-0 and like Trey Lance hurts his knee again. And it's like, okay, Shanahan like picks up the phone and he's like, we need you, pal. Like that is a scenario I guess I could at least consider. I don't, there's no way he's unretiring for a training camp though. You can't do that twice. I think just mentally that would be too much. Like, would you even want to do that? He did it once. Really didn't
even make it through training camp this time. Like he had to take 3 weeks away or whatever it was.
Yeah. He took that like 2-3 week vacation and came
he
back.
Did, but
he was a free man.
I think that just shows you how sort of loosely committed he was to this year. Like he wanted to come back, but I don't think I think if there was a scenario where it happens, I think it's in season. I think it's some super team who like looks really good, has a really good shot, warm weather, maybe a dome. And they just like, out of everything's like, happens in a week where the quarterback goes down and they just, pick up the phone and see what happens. But I don't think it's going to happen at all.
All right. Gare Bear, does he sign a one-day contract with New England and retire a Patriot? I know there's a little bit of tension, I think, between Brady and the franchise. I think he says he looks at Mr. Kraft. No, Mr. Kraft says he looks at Brady as a son. I don't know if Brady feels the same way.
If he looks at Mr. Kraft like he's a son?
Probably
not.
No.
I don't know. I mean, look,
Not good
I'm
for
sure
Mr.
I'm
Kraft.
sure they kiss, but whatever.
yeah, I mean, that's been established. I don't know. Look, I'll be honest. I'm a Dolphins fan. I have been my whole life. Most
I
of
know.
my football consciousness has taken place while Tom Brady and the Patriots have just been absolutely trucking my team. And that's even pointing out, like, the Dolphins probably had the most success of any AFC team against Tom Brady in his tenure with New England, and it still wasn't that much success. But yeah, sure. I would honestly, as a just sports fan, like to see them probably mend those fences and have it be a little bit more, on good terms. Like,
Yeah.
I'll be honest, I kind of laughed a little bit last year to the day when Patriots fans were freaking out that, like, he didn't mention them explicitly in his retirement note, and there was.
I
all
think
that
there's
sort of
something.
drama.
I think there is something to that, though. I mean, come on, how do you play for a team for 20 years and not mention them once? And like,
sure. Sure, but that being said, like, I do really like the way he did it this time, and I know you guys said, like, it was so sudden, it almost seemed like it wasn't real. Like, I think he said something along the lines of, like, I know you only get the sappy, melodramatic post like one time, and I'm like, thank goodness he at least acknowledged that, because
It's
I
like
think
the person who gets married every 5 years, and they like, it's like, hey, come to my wedding, and it's like $10K out of your pocket every time. So yeah, it's nice.
But don't you almost think, like, Tom Brady to me seems so self-serious, and it's changed a little bit the last couple years when he's hired some, like, comedians clearly to run his Twitter account.
Yeah.
But I don't know if he's going to want to be remembered as the guy who retired 6 times, right? Like, I think even if he gets an opportunity to come back next season, I don't know if he wants to be a punchline. Yeah. And I think you if he doesn't win the Super Bowl, like if in this scenario Jeff has laid out, where there's like a super team, their quarterback goes down, they need somebody, like, he's going to step into a system where he has to win the Super Bowl or it's a failure.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. And
I think it's too much, like, this could go wrong too many ways. Like, why am I even doing this?
I think he took his shot this year. It's like you said at the start, it really hasn't tarnished his legacy. But if he starts doing this again, like, it's going to be like, that's what people will remember. So I think he's moved on. I think he got it out of his system this year. He wanted to take one more shot. I don't blame him. I mean, he's done this half his life. Like, of course he wants to keep playing football, but yeah, I'd be shocked, man, if he comes out.
I mean, with Tom Brady retired now, there's only one active quarterback with multiple Super Bowl rings. That quarterback is Jimmy G, who San Francisco said today, not coming back. Who the hell is going to be San Francisco?
Well, I've heard that story before.
Yeah, exactly.
It was oddly definitive, though. Like, I remember asking some guys, I was like, this is the most definitive thing I've ever heard from, like, a end of season, this is usually pretty light press conference. Like, Kyle Shanahan just being like, I do not see a single scenario where Jimmy Garoppolo is on this team next year. Like, all right.
So, like, was he kind of trolling? Was he kind of joking, because he's basically said that before? Like, we're trying to trade Jimmy right now. We don't see him as part of this, like, team. Next thing you know, Trey Lance is breaking his ankle. But, like, it's interesting to hear him say that, Garion, like, and being so definitive and so firm on his stance today, considering Purdy just snapped his UCL, like, and he's out at least like 6 months. And then, nobody knows what they have in Trey Lance yet. Garion.
Yeah. Look, I was surprised. I figured they would maybe keep that door open just with some of the injury uncertainty surrounding that position right now. But at the same time, I think someone's going to be willing to pay Jimmy G. And that's like the difference between this season and last season, right? Is they were already paying that money. They were going to have to get rid of it through a trade. I guess it became pretty crystal clear that no one was going to give them what they wanted. And then you get into a situation where, all right, he actually had to be forced into action. It worked out for the best.
Yeah.
This season, it's like, you've already got clearly two capable. Well, I don't know if it's right to say Trey Lance is capable yet. I think he's capable. Two capable quarterbacks on rookie contracts on your roster. I would think that Purdy, it seems like, if you kind of work out the math in your head, like, they're saying 3 months he should be able to start throwing again, build up. It should be 6 months and he's back to normal. Like, he should be fine for camp. It'll be close.
Jeff, I guess the biggest question, like, he's going to want what? He'll probably will get 20-25 million a year. I don't think San Francisco's in the position to pay that money, Jeff. That would be their only issue.
And that is the issue. Like that. I mean, I think Kyle Shanahan had a plan. The team had a plan at the start of last season. It didn't work out. They were actually lucky it didn't work out. But like the plan was to offload this contract, go with rookie contracts at the quarterback position and build up the team. That's a good plan. And I don't fault Kyle Shanahan for wanting to do that. But at the same time, like Shanahan, again, shows he's so brilliant as an offensive play caller, but game manager and like just like in the media and man, like why would you tell everyone that I'm trading Jimmy Garoppolo? Yes, he's out of here. I'm definitely trading him. Okay, well, like what do you think? Is that going to get you best offers from teams? Or is that going to get you a bunch of lowballs? You're just going to get lowballed on Jimmy G, and they're going to have more trouble trying to get value for him. So it makes no sense. Like just like Gary, I was shocked to hear it. Like, why would you go in the media and say this? No idea. So I think he will be gone this year. It just makes too much sense from a cap perspective. But like San Francisco needs some. I have vast concerns that Brock Purdy is going to be ready next year. This is a pretty serious injury. I've read a wide range of outcomes on this, and even if he's semi-ready like for the start, I don't think he's going to be like 100%. So
yeah,
San Francisco does have to get a backup, but it does make sense to get some kind of cheaper option. I think at this point, you've got to trust your pick in Trey Lance. You invested a ton of draft capital into him. You've got a guy in Brock Purdy who is very capable. He'll probably be ready by midseason at worst. So it does make sense. But again, I don't know why Shannon does it. He did it last year too. Mm-hmm. Just have a little bit of a poker face. Like it's your job. You're the face of the franchise. So weird to hear for sure from San Francisco again.
He can't do it. He can't.
He can't. Hey, just like he can't.
Which part of me kind of like it's refreshing in a way, like how honest, but like, bro, you still have to play your cards right.
It's just like he can't adjust though in the game where he gets down. And I know his quarterback had like one arm and he didn't have many options, but like they couldn't adjust a game plan. Like it just reminds me of that. It's like he's very robotic. He has to do things this way. If things go outside that a little bit, he can't adjust. So it just seems like almost a personality thing with him. It's kind of funny to watch.
Gary, quick question for you, because before Tom Brady, the big news I believe was yesterday, Sean Payton getting hired by Denver. Denver worked out the whole trade thing with the Saints. Denver's giving up picks again. And then there's D'Amico Ryans, who took the job with the Texans. Who is in a better position to have more success? Who do you think has success earlier?
So earlier, I mean, Peyton.
Yeah.
I think in terms of long run, though, give me the team that's basically a blank slate with all of their draft capital. Like, I think that's how you have to go. And, I said this yesterday and I still sort of feel this way. I mean, I guess you could make the argument that what the Broncos kind of are in a position at this moment to do is it's like a sunk cost debate. Like you can't use the Russell Wilson trade and have it cloud your view of what they just gave up to get Sean Payton. It already happened. Like one thing is independent of the other thing. So you might as well just keep digging and hoping at some point you strike gold. However, there's the classic Simpsons quote, dig up, stupid, which it kind of feels like we're in that position right now, where one of the major issues with the Broncos, I mean, aside from their defense, was this is a team that really doesn't have like a ton of talent on the fringes. And we've seen this. I mean, we just spent 10 minutes talking about it. Like the current in vogue way to build your roster in the NFL is get quarterbacks on a rookie scale deal and use the money elsewhere to build the talent up around them. Because once your quarterback's off that rookie scale deal, the money gets ridiculous. And you've now got Russell Wilson making a ton of money. You've already traded a bunch of premium draft picks, 2 firsts and 2 seconds to get him in the building, which means not only are you not bringing in the possibility, the lottery tickets for other good players, you're missing out on good players who could be on very cheap contracts. And it just seems like they gave away more of those to go get a coach. And I like Sean Payton. I think he's got a chance to make Russell Wilson into a better player than he was this past season. I don't think Russell Wilson's necessarily just toast. But giving up more draft capital for a team that has to find a way to be better, like on the roster position 6 to 53, it just doesn't seem like a great formula for success.
Yeah, Jeff, like maybe like giving up 1 first-round pick for a known quantity, like Sean Payton, like maybe it's not much, but this hire, as Gary alluded to, it's like more than that. It's about the activation of like Wilson here. Like you have to make this guy work, because if he doesn't, Broncos are out a boatload of money and a whole lot of time here.
I actually think they made the right move. It sucks, but they made their bed last year. Like when the bad move here isn't bringing in Sean Payton. The bad move was giving up everything to get Russell Wilson when you should have just gone the rookie QB route. But that decision is over. It's done. Sean Payton brings a lot of value, and it's a first round pick, but it's only 1 pick. He's had I can't remember the exact stats. It's something like 4 losing seasons over 15 years. And those losing seasons were like all 7-win seasons. Like the value that he brings and that he's brought to a lot of different skill positions is pretty evident if you start looking at the numbers. And people say, well, it's all Drew Brees. He won without Drew Brees. Like he did. And Drew Brees, the last few
bad
years
Drew
as
Brees
well,
too for a while there.
Bad Drew Brees.
He did.
Exactly.
He helped develop Drew Brees.
Yeah.
He helped make Drew Brees into Drew Brees.
So
Right.
I think there's a lot of give and take there. And I think it's not factual to say, well, yeah, Drew Brees. I think Sean Payton's a really good coach. He's exactly what if they are going to make Russell Wilson work, they need someone, a veteran coach, who can come in, take control, be the face of the franchise, and not have Russell Wilson acting as GM, coach, and spokesperson. Like this is exactly what they need. They need the focus off of Russell Wilson and on to the coach and him building out the team. What sucks is exactly what Garion alluded to. Now they're down more draft picks, but they really didn't have a choice. This is the route they chose. And I think they're definitely making the right decision. It's going to be interesting, some of the moves they make. They've got some opportunity here to potentially build something. Like they still have some nice pieces. Judy, Javonte Williams, I actually like the Chase Edmonds deal. They got him for a year. There's an opportunity. There's a window here. They have a very good tight end, Greg Dulcich. So I'm very interested to see how this works out. I think if anyone can make it work with where they've gone, it's Sean Payton. So I think step 1 for them is correct. This is a good move for them. They're going to have to get some value. They're going to have to land some guys on cheap contracts who outperform. But if they do that, this team could turn it around, man. Like everyone is out on Russell Wilson, but I just don't think he's done. I really don't think he's done. I think last year was more of just the worst situation possible with a rookie head coach way out of his element, and Russ just, in a new offense that he'd never been in before. I think you're going to see this team be different. And if there's anything out of Russell Wilson, if there's anything left, Sean Payton's probably the guy to get it out of him.
Yeah, we're going to find out here pretty soon if the missing mile-high link is a
Broncos are basically on the Rams route too. I mean, they're basically they're just going to spend draft picks until it works.
I guess the thing too, to your point, Jeff, like, because I know that even in my own head, like as soon as this trade happened, because you think about the Sean Payton, Drew Brees partnership, and you're like, okay, how much of the success was Sean Payton? How much was Drew Brees? And you immediately sort of like your head goes to, oh man, this is just the Nathaniel Hackett, Aaron Rodgers correlation, where it's like, wow, yeah, he had some great seasons when an MVP level quarterback was playing for his offense. But I think there's such a massive difference between a coordinator transitioning into a head coach role, because clearly that's what Hackett was having. I don't want to say all of the trouble, because the offense also just looked terrible, but he was clearly having a hard time, like just with game management. And that's a thing we hear about all the time. Like even Mike McDaniel, and we saw this play out during the Dolphins-Bills playoff game. Like it's hard to call plays and have to manage the game simultaneously. Sometimes those play calls get in a little late and things start to just go to hell. But I think Sean Payton being an actual living and breathing embodiment of a head coach, it really does lend credence to the fact that he could be the one to turn this thing around.
Who had the biggest turnaround this year, Emerson, of all the teams?
The Jacksonville Jaguars.
Doug Peterson, experienced
Bingo.
NFL coach, taking a team to the Super Bowl.
Thank you.
That is, Gary mentioned it. We all want to look at these like fancy offensive coordinators. Oh, this guy's sharp. And Mike McDaniel is sharp, but like, my God, like the game management, the experience managing games, having the balls to do things like make an onside kick in the Super Bowl, like call the Philly special. These are things you don't get to just overnight. like these are things you get to with experience, with having like, it's a big thing to manage an NFL team in a game. We all like to criticize on Twitter, but like when you're trying to call plays, manage guys, and then the clock's running down, that's not easy, man. So yeah, I really like the move by the Broncos. I don't know if it's going to work out, but it's the right move in my mind.
Yeah.
For sure.
And I know Broncos fans for months have been pissed off about the Nathaniel Hackett thing, but in retrospect, maybe it is the best thing to happen to Denver, because if Nathaniel Hackett may have not, if he didn't flame out as quickly as he did,
it's true.
The Broncos wouldn't have been in the market for Sean Payton.
Like 7-10 this year or something, you know?
Yeah.
Would have seen him back.
Jeff Ulrich, what is your favorite golf bet this week at the AT&T Pebble Beach Pro-Am? Tees off tomorrow. These are some long ass rounds out there, man. There's some fun celebrities playing in it. It's a rotation of 3 different courses. The Monterey Peninsula. Hook me up with a top bet or two.
Yeah, let's see here. Andrew Putnam at plus 3,000.
Okay.
I'm in on that. Really solid putter. Guy who's won before in a field exactly like this. Really weak field with no kind of favorite. And he was, you know, I think he won at like plus 2,500 when he won. So he's not going to be intimidated by this field. Pretty talented player too. Could certainly roll it, which you need to do this week. And then this is a very good week. If you're looking to make like 4 or 5 bets, to just start at like plus 5,000 and work your way down. So I'm going to throw out a couple names. I think Trey Mullenix is, just for a talent perspective, is a good price. Kurt Kitayama, another guy just from a talent base experience. Both these guys have played Pebble a few times now. That's good. Matthew Neesmith at plus 8,000, another name I don't mind. You could throw a couple dineros on, and I'm going to go really big here for my last one. It's a guy I think has a real chance to make some noise here this week. If I can find, I don't know where he is on DraftKings. Am I going to have to search?
What's going on, man?
What's going on? Peter Malnati, plus
there
1,800, plus 18,000. I really like this. He's a good iron player, and his irons were in great form last week. He's also a high-end putter. Was T11 at this event. I think it was 2 years ago. So he likes the West Coast. He's won before on the PGA. Exact type of veteran player who will just pop up at this event. So that's my long shot right there.
Okay, good stuff. Gare Bear, I know you talked some TFS. You talked mostly sports betting this morning around the NBA. What would you say your favorite bet is tonight around the association? I believe a 9-game slate, which includes Nets at the Celtics.
Yeah, actually an 8-game slate now.
Oh, 8-game.
The rare a plane couldn't take off in Dallas, so
wait,
there's no
what?
Wizards game tonight.
I totally missed that. What the hell happened there?
I think it's the Pistons are stuck in Dallas. They can't make tip tonight. So they had to cancel the game. I guess
is there like a big ass storm or something out there?
I think it's just like, you know, as was a national topic a couple of years back, like Texas just does not prepare even the slightest for like any sort of cold weather. So any ice just completely flummoxes them.
Okay, so don't give your bet from that game then.
Yeah. Off the board, thankfully. DraftKings doing us a favor here. I think my favorite bet would probably just be the Kings minus 7.5.
Okay.
You know, you go back the last 10 games for these two teams. Kings number 1 in the NBA in net rating, Spurs worst net rating in basketball. They're being outscored by over 14 points per 100 possessions by their opponents. The Kings offense is just so dynamic. The Spurs defense is so terrible. I mean, I really do think this is one of those games you can pencil the Kings in for like 130 points and not even think about it. And then it just becomes a matter of, can the Kings defense do enough? Can they care even just slightly enough for 5 minutes to shut down a pretty underwhelming Spurs offense? I think they do. Sacramento also does a pretty good job of just taking care of business. They're 9-1 ATS. Their last 10 games on the road against teams below 500. So they often cover in these spots where they should cover. I'll also say, just in terms of like things happening right now, Orlando Magic, they're now plus 10 against the 76ers tonight, even though they beat the 76ers when these two teams played on Monday.
That was a comeback, right? Weren't the 76ers up like 18 or 20 or something?
Yeah, Magic came back and they've done a great job of hanging around in these spots recently. They're just 20-7 ATS their last 27 games, one of the best marks in basketball. This line is growing despite the fact that Wendell Carter Jr., who was questionable for this game, is going to play tonight. They just announced their starting lineup. I would think this line's moving probably because Joel Embiid is going to play. He's also questionable, but at the same time, this number just seems really big. I'll take the points with the Magic.
All right. Love it, dudes. Good show. Garion, for real, thanks for sliding in today, man. It's great having you hang out with us on a Wednesday. Good talking some Tom Brady and Sean Payton with you, some NBA, some golf with Jeff. You guys on the show tomorrow, the Sweat tomorrow morning?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, great. Looking forward to seeing both of your faces. Then, Aben, appreciate the help, dude. Love you. AC on the ones and twos. We love all of you for watching. We'll see you tomorrow morning right back here on the DK social channels, 11 o'clock Eastern time, Thursday edition of the Sweat. Peace.